Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you through the wonders of modern technology, although I wish I could be with you in Tokyo, kicking off this 13th DIA Japan annual meeting. Family medical issues have kept me closer to home, but I'm delighted still to be part of this keynote session. First, let me recognize and thank Dr. Tatsuo Kurokawa, the new DIA president, and I might add the first Japanese DIA president. Congratulations. I know that you'll bring great expertise and leadership to this important role. I also want to recognize and thank my friend and colleague, Barbara Lopez-Kunz, Global Chief Executive of DIA, who has brought so much energy and vision to advancing the mission and activities of this organization. And of course, I must thank Dr. Yoshinobu Hirayama, the program chair for this meeting, along with all the members of the program committee, for putting together this remarkable and very packed agenda. As you know, the theme for this conference is Breakthrough in Regulatory Science for Patient-Engaged Medical Treatment. This is such an important and timely topic, and this is a great forum to address it. A forum that brings together academia, industry, government, including regulatory, and other key stakeholders, all committed to promoting medical product innovation, healthcare, and well-being through safe and effective healthcare products for people around the globe. Indeed, this topic and forum reflects the kind of global collaboration that's so much needed today. All of you in this room represent individuals and come from organizations that will help to ensure that the opportunities in science and technology today are better aligned with the unmet medical care and public health needs before us, and that together we translate opportunity into reality for people in need. Having recently served for some 6 years as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner, I've been deeply involved in these issues. And currently, as the Foreign Secretary for the National Academy of Medicine, formerly known as the Institute of Medicine, I remain engaged with many of these concerns, although from a somewhat different perspective. As I prepared for this meeting, I went back and looked at some of the history of DIA, and it was really interesting. I was surprised to learn that the founding of this esteemed organization back in 1964 was closely tied to the legal and regulatory environment that followed the thalidomide crisis, in which seriously deformed babies were born to women who'd taken the drug during pregnancy for the management of morning sickness. In the United States, we were spared most of this tragedy because an FDA reviewer, Francis Kelsey, did not allow the drug to be marketed, insisting on safety data. As this drug was already available and in use elsewhere in the world, the company and others were troubled by this position. But reports of more and more malformed babies in other countries certainly bore out the wisdom of her position. And in fact, it shone an important light on major gaps in our U.S. system of drug regulation. Major legislation soon followed, the Kefauver-Harris Amendment, to ensure that the FDA had a fuller set of authorities to ensure the efficacy as well as safety of drugs based on rigorous scientific study, and included other protections for consumers as well. This new law was greeted with a mixed response. No one could deny the avoidable and heartbreaking tragedy of thalidomide. And this was not the only example of tragic consequences for patients due to unsafe, unproven drugs. But there were also cries from industry, organized medicine, and others that the new requirements for drug testing would be too time-consuming, too cumbersome, too expensive. Many predicted impending drug shortages and even the demise of the pharmaceutical industry. Those fears did not prove true. But this wasn't just a U.S. problem, it was a global one. And there was no organization at the time that could foster cooperative efforts around the world to support positive change. The need was real, And so a group of pharmaceutical professionals, academics, and others created DIA, intending it to be an expert but fully independent association with a global reach. At a remarkable time, DIA emerged in response to a set of cross-cutting and serious regulatory concerns, and was intended to help create a forum to work across disciplines, sectors, and borders to promote and protect health and to assure the development and delivery of better, safer products for health. Today, it stands as a leader on critical topics for therapeutics development and access, and an important convener to advance both knowledge and outcomes. So in an odd way, the emergence of DIA and the modern US FDA were intertwined, and the organizations have worked well together ever since. DIA and regulatory authorities more broadly share so much of their mission and values in common. And I certainly feel a special bond of connectedness, and I also feel very proud of the progress that's been made. Medical product development and evaluation must be firmly grounded in science, with strong systems and standards, while also recognizing the need to continually evolve our understandings of that science and the available approaches and tools for innovation, development, evaluation, and monitoring. There can be no doubt that over the past 50-plus years, regulatory authorities such as the FDA, working in concert with partners and stakeholders, have been able to advance both innovation and safety of medical products, better aligning science, authority, and policy to promote and protect the health of the public they serve. And notably, despite the initial skepticism about the impact of new approaches embodied in the Kefauver-Harris amendments, the modern pharmaceutical industry represents one of the most advanced and prosperous sectors of so many economies around the world. But reflecting on where we are now, where we've been, and where we need to go, I do think we're at a crossroads. There are real challenges ahead. Many are not unfamiliar, but all are more complicated in our increasingly complex and globalized world. Perhaps most importantly, despite advances in science and technology, we're not adequately delivering on the power of science today. Patients still wait for the innovative new products they desperately want and need to treat, cure, or even prevent disease. How can we ensure the swiftest and surest translation of new discoveries and possibility into real-world products? Additionally, we still need more progress to ensure the quality, safety, and efficacy of the medicines patients take, not just in the development of those medical interventions, but over the course of the lifespan of their use. And how do we make sure that patients and their needs and preferences remain at the center of our efforts? We need to make sure that these products and interventions have real value, address the symptoms and outcomes that matter most to the patients who use them, and of course, that these therapies are affordable and accessible. On a more technical level, we face such challenges as fragmented regulatory requirements across nations, limited awareness of regulatory issues, insufficient education and training opportunities, and a lack of capacity and suitable mechanisms for regulatory science and policy development. Needless to say, these are all areas of work where DIA, as a neutral, highly respected, and expert organization, is well positioned to contribute to developing strategies and solutions to support capacity building, enhanced collaboration, and thought leadership in innovative regulatory science and policy. As you all know well, these are not easy times. We face many, often competing needs and priorities. For example, while at FDA, I oversaw an agency that had to deal with expanding demands, political discord, a tightening economy, and the pressures of globalization. And we were not alone. In addition, extraordinary advances in science and technology have brought an explosion of knowledge and capabilities emerging from many domains of research, And with this, many new opportunities, but challenges as well. We find ourselves in a world of high demands, high expectations, high complexity, but high opportunity as well. Without a doubt, our modern world demands that we redouble our efforts, and no one can successfully do their jobs alone. We need to hearken back to an earlier age, decades ago, and remember why standards and scientific evidence matter, but we must build on that foundation in new and creative ways. In the words of the DIA logo, we must design, innovate, and advance. I know that for many, no doubt some in this room, regulatory authorities may not be seen as a great partner, but rather as a bureaucratic barrier to action. I'm afraid that this has been a common theme back in my home country, often driven more by politics and ideology than by facts. This election season in the United States has probably not helped. Much government bashing and calls for deregulation from certain quarters. Following our election last week, we'll almost certainly see some new thinking and some new directions. Honestly, I think that none of us really know quite what to expect. But a world without regulation would not be good for anyone. Certainly not for patients and consumers, but also not for industry or for innovation. I hope that we can all recognize that, in fact, regulation plays a positive, proactive role in innovation, ushering new products through the approval process and into the market, while maintaining an important focus on how we integrate safety with innovation, balance risks with benefits, oversee post-market concerns or emerging insights about appropriate use, and ensure always that a gold standard for safety and efficacy is met. Regulation, when done right and in partnerships with stakeholders, is not a roadblock, but in fact a pathway to better, safer, and more effective products. Smart, science-based regulation has benefits for all. First and foremost, for health, of course, but more than that. It instills consumer confidence in products and treatments. It levels the playing field for businesses. It reduces the threat of litigation. It prevents recalls that can undermine industry reputation and consumer trust, not to mention the huge preventable costs on individual companies and entire industries. It opens up markets for companies and for their products domestically and around the world, and it spurs industry to excellence. The real truth is that smart regulation allows us to deliver on the promise of science for patients, consumers, and for industry. But the other reality is that translating an idea from a discovery to a new product is a long and arduous process, one that must involve good science and good policies at every step of the way. And the process is getting harder. Products are more complex, necessitating new methods for evaluating their safety, new approaches for manufacturing, and new pathways for regulation, both for greater efficiency and for whole new classes of products, including biosimilars or combination products, as well as new technologies such as nanotechnology, 3D printing, next-generation sequencing, and now gene editing. Moreover, rapid globalization has connected us in ways we never were before. This has huge implications for how and where products are developed, made, how they travel through increasingly complex supply chains, and who has responsibility for overseeing safety and quality throughout this process. Our changing world demands new paradigms for medical product development and oversight. In fact, the entire medical product ecosystem needs to evolve to meet the needs of the 21st century. This ecosystem, comprised of academia, government, industry, payers, and of course physicians, patients, and the public, is not only influenced by the biomedical revolution, including the movement towards more sophisticated, targeted therapies, but also the globalized market and supply chain, economic and intellectual property policies, and notably, healthcare costs and reform. Historically, this ecosystem has been fragmented, with many elements operating in their own silos, different specialties, different people, different organizations, different funding streams. But if we're to be successful in our efforts to advance biomedical product innovation, if our biomedical product enterprise is going to thrive, and if we want to truly deliver on what science has to offer, these silos must come down. We all must commit to a much more integrated and coordinated approach, a framework very consistent with the mission and values of DIA, I might add. Without a doubt, no one component of this ecosystem can alone drive effective biomedical product innovation. Moreover, at the end of the day, strong science must be the engine. Robust science must underline the regulatory role as an overseer of the safety, efficacy, and quality of medical products in the approval process and in the marketplace, as well as to facilitate the development of innovative new products that capitalize on scientific advance and meet the needs of the public. We're fortunate to live in what some are calling the golden age for biomedical research. Advances in our understanding of disease pathogenesis and human biology are revealing new pathways for disease diagnosis, treatment, and even prevention or cure. The sequencing of the human genome has revealed potential novel drug targets, and combinatorial chemistry, high-throughput screening, and biosynthesis have led to thousands of candidate drugs. Modern supercomputers and bioinformatics make it possible to process huge amounts of data and mine it for new insights into disease and potential treatments. We're seeing an array of new products and medical interventions, whether the striking increase in the number of complex biologicals as compared to chemical drug formulations, or once elusive advanced therapies such as stem cell treatments, gene therapy, and other tissue therapies that are now becoming realities. And products produced using certain approaches that were thought to be more the stuff of science fiction not long ago, like nanomedicine, digital pills, and 3D printing for medicines, devices, and body parts are now entering the marketplace. As we seek to realize the benefits of all this new scientific understanding and novel technologies, we must keep several important things in mind. First, even with all of the seeming opportunities in science today, we must do a better job translating them into the real-world medical products and treatments we all hope for. As we're all too well aware, patients are urgently waiting for new therapies and too often not getting them. And we're falling far short in our efforts to address burgeoning medical care and public health needs, whether antimicrobial resistance and the pressing need for new diagnostics, drugs, and vaccines to address infectious diseases, or chronic disease conditions like heart disease, obesity, or Alzheimer's, which are taking such a toll on individuals, families, and our systems of care. I'm sure that we all can agree that we can and must do more. And with this must also come new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things if we're truly going to deliver. Every effort must be made to streamline and modernize regulatory systems so that new, better products can be made available as quickly as responsibly possible. And here, in fact, a great deal of progress has been made. Indeed, in the United States, we've achieved very significant decreases in regulatory review times using a range of expedited pathways and new regulatory tools and approaches. Similarly, PMDA, the much-respected Japanese regulatory authority, has made this a priority and has demonstrated striking progress as well. But it's more than just shortening review times. It's finding the most expeditious path from a good idea to a real-world product that will matter to people. This takes a collaborative approach where the entire R&D process is shaped with a keen awareness and understanding of what it will take to develop products that are stable and reliable, with demonstrated safety and effectiveness for their intended use, and that will provide real benefits to patients. Again, we can shorten the timelines when we pay attention to the shared goal of getting the best products to people as quickly as possible, with the best science as possible, making sure that the right studies are done in the right way to make this reality. When the regulatory authority works as a partner with early and continuing engagement, we found that the times for product research and product development itself, that very process, can be significantly reduced. And it's important to remember that medical product innovation only matters if it makes a difference for people. Newer doesn't necessarily mean better if it doesn't work or if it actually causes harm. Innovation is also about finding new and better ways to do things in order to meet the needs and challenges before us. A key part of the solution is having the right regulatory and product development approach, which is why regulatory science is so important. Most of you in the room probably know what I mean when I refer to regulatory science, though when I first started talking about this important component of the scientific enterprise, I often got blank looks, or worse yet, rolling eyes and skeptical yawns. When I talk about regulatory science, I mean the knowledge and tools needed to evaluate a product's safety, efficacy, quality, and performance. It involves the development of new methods, standards, and models that can be used to speed the development, review, approval, and ongoing oversight of medical products, and it reflects the important priorities I was just discussing. Though underappreciated and underdeveloped for years, we cannot afford to let regulatory science stagnate. While at FDA, I became convinced that we needed to rethink how we considered drug candidates and discovered new ones. It was evident that a robust field of regulatory science could support many crucial endeavors. For example, it could foster more efficient product development by ensuring the tools to detect unsafe, ineffective therapies at an early stage so no more effort would be wasted on their development. A robust field of regulatory science can help develop and optimize innovative clinical trial designs and analytics that require fewer patients, shorter timeframes, and lower costs, and support more effective strategies to mine and apply the information and knowledge that resides in the vast quantities of data housed in our healthcare systems, as well as the explosion of information becoming available through genome sequencing and other advances. In fact, a robust field of regulatory science is helping to usher in the era of personalized or precision medicine by enabling use of our knowledge of biological pathways and gene variants to identify promising new drug candidates and new potential targets for treatment in a systematic manner, as well as the new strategies needed to address them. But real success in advancing regulatory science will require a focused, sustained commitment and the full engagement of the scientific community and beyond. It will take new investments, approaches, and partnerships for regulatory science to evolve in the ways necessary to catch up with and capture the opportunities before us. In addition, we're increasingly seeing a new level of engagement for patients. Patients are demanding it. Regulators, researchers, and drug companies are increasingly convinced that the patient input and voice can actually improve clinical trials, better define meaningful treatment outcomes, enhance our understanding of side effects, and provide new insights into risk tolerance and how best to weigh risks and benefits. Since patient engagement is part of the overall theme of this conference, I want to take a moment to discuss this in more depth. Across the whole medical product continuum, from development to review to approval and to real-world use, it's crucial to find new and better ways to integrate the patient experience and voice. But it must be more than just anecdote. A major challenge is to be able to develop rigorous, objective methodologies for measuring patient experiences and preferences and for formulating appropriate, reliable metrics and clinical outcome assessment tools. This is a key area for collaborative work going forward, and I hope that this meeting will help to deepen and extend thinking on this important set of issues. While I was still at FDA, we began something called the Patient-Focused Drug Development Initiative, spearheaded by patient groups with support from Congress, industry, and other stakeholders. This involved a commitment to undertake public meetings focused on a range of disease areas designed to engage patients and their caregivers in discussion with FDA about their own experiences with a given disease, the impact of their condition on their daily lives, their perspectives on the symptoms of their disease that were most significant for them, their own assessment of treatments or treatment approaches, and what they felt they needed. The disease areas addressed have ranged from common disorders to rare diseases. And by now, I think that close to 20 such meetings have occurred. And each has been followed by a Voice of the Patient report that tries to capture what has been learned. I think that these meetings have proven very valuable, offering insights for FDA reviewers about how to better assess risks and benefits and some of the kinds of endpoints that matter to patients. Correspondingly, there have been benefits to the research and development process and to product development plans. Public-private partnerships are also proving vital to efforts to engage and empower patients across the spectrum of medical product development and evaluation, with the goal of finding better, more effective products for those who will actually be using them. For example, the Medical Device Innovation Consortium, a public-private partnership that was initiated during my tenure at FDA to advance regulatory science in the medical device field, has made some valuable contributions towards defining needed scientific evidence and methodologic approaches. They've done important work to catalog available methods for collecting data on patient preferences, as well as developing a framework for how to incorporate patient preferences across the lifespan of device and of its use. Efforts have also been underway with the National Institutes of Health to develop and make available efficient, precise, valid, and responsive patient-reported outcomes, measures of health and well-being that can be used as primary or secondary endpoints in clinical studies. So I think it's increasingly clear that from many quarters, real progress is being made to advance strategies to collect and use patient preference data for regulatory purposes. And I know that there will be a great richness in the work going forward. It has also been striking to see how much difference patient groups and philanthropies can make in advancing critical areas of scientific research and new regulatory science approaches to support product design and development. Also in the establishment of patient networks to support patient registries, tissue banks, genomic registries, as well as facilitating the efficient conduct of clinical studies. I saw this happen in a number of breakthrough areas, for example, in cystic fibrosis and the development of Kalydeco, the first drug that actually treated the underlying mechanism of the disease and not just the symptoms. And in the device world, the recent approval of an artificial pancreas, a long-sought goal that was achieved with research and advocacy support from the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. As I move toward the end of my remarks, I want to jump from the patient level to the global. How medical products are developed, manufactured, and how they make their way into our hospitals, clinics, and our homes has changed so dramatically with globalization. And the scientific enterprise, too, has become global, with knowledge and research, both basic and clinical, extending across borders. This clearly demands new ways of doing business, including thinking about how studies are done and ensuring that we have standards in place to maintain quality, including ethical robustness, regardless of where a trial is conducted. Moreover, we need to design and support implementation of collaborative research across nations, especially in the areas of unmet medical care and public health need. Also, we must achieve a modern means to share information globally, and not just research data, but information about issues and activities, including regulatory inspection and compliance data, for example, that will help us drive towards a more seamless, comprehensive system of regulatory oversight. And we need to commit together to strengthen and extend the capabilities and competencies of product developers, innovators, and regulators everywhere, through education and training, through curriculum development, through technical assistance, and through genuine collaboration. Consumers in my country, as in so many other nations, now effectively shop in a global marketplace, and serving consumers is a global endeavor. Building on sound science and best practices, we must make every effort to harmonize regulatory standards and approaches across nations and to work together in the kinds of ways where DIA has for so long been at the forefront. But I want to stress that it's not just the marketplace today that is global. As the recent Ebola and Zika crises so vividly underscore, an outbreak in one region can rapidly become an epidemic in another. Diseases, in fact, are global, and this is our new normal. Whether Ebola and Zika or influenza, MERS, SARS, the growing problem of antimicrobial resistance, or the next unknown, our shared vulnerabilities and our interdependence are clear. Additionally, these recent outbreaks brought into stark relief the fact that when a serious infectious disease epidemic emerges, there's tremendous pressure to accelerate product development and provide access to a range of medical products, even if those products are still in their earliest phases of research and development. In this context, product developers and regulators take on an important and difficult set of tasks. We cannot allow our desire to do whatever we can in the face of a tragic epidemic, understandable as it is, to divert us from following scientific principles that enable sound decision-making and real answers. Only by studying these investigational products properly can we truly know if they help. We need to respond rapidly, but we still have to exercise appropriate caution to make sure that we get it right. We need flexibility, but clinical trials must be carefully designed. This is critical not just to help bring an epidemic under control as quickly as possible, but also to position us more effectively for responses in the future. But conducting scientifically sound global clinical trials in the face of an emerging infectious outbreak presents huge challenges and requires close collaboration among governments, healthcare providers, academia, NGOs, industry, and more. Clearly, we need action now before the next crisis hits. A high priority should be developing and pre-positioning scientifically robust, widely accepted clinical trial protocols that can be quickly implemented at the onset of a deadly disease outbreak. We must also continue to identify and resolve regulatory science challenges so that medical product development programs can move forward as quickly as possible. For example, we need to develop better animal models, improve our ability to bridge data from animal studies to humans, and develop new functional assays and analytics for rapid assessment of product safety, efficacy, and quality. We need new platforms for vaccines, better point-of-care diagnostics, and whole new classes of antibiotics. These are real-world challenges to address as we think about how to protect and promote health in the face of a serious threat. The good news is that our routine work together can also help build the foundation for the broader challenge. And whether we're talking about protecting the health of whole populations or the health needs of individual patients, we can and must do more. That's why all of you have come together in Tokyo. I applaud the work that this group is doing to make a difference, advancing science, policy, and action in so many critical ways. I wish all of you the best as you strive to advance medical product innovation and pursue the breakthrough opportunities for improved diagnosis, treatment, prevention, and cures that we're all hoping for. Thank you for your work. Good luck with your meeting. And thank you for letting me join with you, if even by video.